Well, wait. Well, I learned that you'll never let me down. Oh, you're just so true. Yeah, that I have found. The two voices help me say hallelujah, hallelujah. You know that I love. Oh, hallelujah. Say hallelujah. You know that. Yeah, thank God to shout hallelujah, hallelujah. You know that I love. Yeah, say somebody shout that you never let me down. You're just so true. Yeah, yeah, hallelujah. Say hallelujah. You know what I love. Whatever you going through, shout hallelujah. You know that I am. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. You know that praise his holy name. One more time because he's a right. He is, yeah. He's that wheel that turns in the middle. Somebody say that you won't never let me down. You never see the righteous forsaken nor a seed begging for bread. Hallelujah, you know that. Come on and say hallelujah. Say hallelujah, you know that. Come on and shout hallelujah. Hallelujah, you know that. You know that. Well, you know that. You know that. Does anybody out there love to praise him? Does anybody out there love to praise him? Does anybody out there love to praise him? I dare to see your best shout. I dare to see your best shout. I dare to see your best shout. Somebody ought to praise his name. I just thank him for what he's done. I just thank him for what he's going to do. I just thank him how he brought you out. I just thank him, just thank him, just thank him, just thank him, just come on and thank him. Yeah, I'll praise you in the morning. Yeah, and I'll praise you in the noonday. I'll praise you in the midnight hour because you give me grace and power. Yeah, 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 yeah. I wish I had somebody over here. I wish I had somebody over here to just clap your hands for God. I wish I had somebody over there to just clap your hands for God. I wish I had somebody up there to just clap your hands for God. I know he's been so good. I know he's been so good. And when I think about the goodness of Jesus and all he's done for me, I can't help myself. Sometimes I cry because I know that God is working for me. And I just get so happy that his grace and mercy covers me. Somebody ought to shout Jesus. 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 Well, you know that. Yeah, to praise. Come on to praise his name. Set up. Y'all ain't come to worship him this morning. Y'all stop faking it. Y'all stop faking it. Y'all ain't come to worship him. Come on now. Y'all ain't it. God has been a good God. He's been a good God. Whenever you was feeling bad, Jesus made it alright. Just think about the sacrifice when he hung out on that cross. And he laid his head in the locks, laid his head in the locks of his shoulders. And he gave up the ghost for you and me to have a right to that tree of life. Somebody ought to be so happy. You ought to see my Jesus. And they laid him in the borrowed tomb. And they laid him in the borrowed tomb. He stayed all day Saturday. He stayed all night Saturday. But early one Sunday morning, I said early one Sunday morning, about Jesus he got up. About Jesus he got up. About Jesus he got up. He got a winter power in his hand. He got a winter power in his hand. Well, you know that. Hold it. And that means you better hold it. Hold it. You better hold it. You better hold it. You better hold it. Yeah. To pray. Lord. Come on now. Because he's my rock. My rock, yeah. Somebody shout, he's a wheel. That turn in the middle of the wheel. I know he'll never let you down. Let me down. You got to do. Hallelujah. I love to praise his name. Oh, hallelujah. 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 I love to praise his name. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. You know, I love to praise his name. Come on and say, I love to praise. Come on and say, I love to praise. Come on and I said, give God some praise. He's worthy. He's worthy. He's the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. He's the great physician. Come on now, he's your doctor. He's your healer. He's your counselor. Come on, he's the wheel in the middle of the wheel. He's my solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking. Saying, this is Jesus I'm talking about. Give him praise. He's worthy. He's worthy. Touch your neighbor and say, he's worthy. Give my praise. Oh man, I might have the right address. Is this the right place? We came into a house where people came to worship God. I don't know what y'all been doing the other 364 days, but today is the day we'll worship the Lord. It's good. That's quite all right. That's quite all right. I think there's something wrong when we're too silent. God wakes us up with silence. Your heart is beating while your conscience is sleeping. He's always working. It wasn't your alarm clock that made everything work together for you to get up out the bed. God sent his angel to tap you on the shoulder to say, get up. It's not your time. Rise up. You got more life to live. Is anybody grateful for the God that we serve? I hate to wait till judgment to bow down to the God that's done all these great things for me. He's too good. He's too good. What a blessing to be in the house of God again today. It's not an accident that you're here. It's divine arrangement. God allowed this time, this place, and this occasion in your life to come worship him in spirit and in truth. Worship is not something that we take lightly. Worship is basically what he's worth to us. If you was going to put a value on your God, you able to manifest that in the way you worship and praise him. What does God mean to you? He's not just a once a week occasion.
You didn't come in here to show how well you shopped off of Macy's rap. This is not the time to say what's up to your cousins because you don't see them through the week. We can do that. But Jesus is the intention for our occasion. We're coming together because we're here for a like reason. We've been saved and sanctified. And it's by Him, by His stripes, we're healed. Like we're here because we have the common nature that Jesus is Lord. I thank God for allowing us to be here. Some of you have been through hell and high water. You didn't know what you were going to face this week, but God brought you through. We don't take that lightly. But I want you to make sure that you embrace somebody. There was somebody this week that did not get embraced. Somebody did not get the love that they needed this week to get by. Don't you know that it's been scientifically proven that mankind is the only creature that will not survive without human affection? There is human beings will create and form deformities and handicaps for the lack of affection. Come on, before they had laws on who you could do experiments on, they was doing these on people. They were raising babies without the affection of a mother or a caring hand or a loving person. And the need for love is essential for you and I to survive. So I'm going to ask you to do one last thing. Before we jump in this word, I need you to show somebody some love. Hug 2 or 3 people. Come on now, don't hug the person you came with. Hug somebody else. Challenge yourself.
Attention, the nursery is now open for children ages 4 and up. There is no kids. Once again, there is no kids.
Why is it still?
It just stopped.
Oh,
It says it's going.
it does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe that's what it does. I don't know.
surrender. Oh, what a love between my sinner and I do more than love with you. Over and over and he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over again. Yes, God keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over. Ask each other. Then Jesus explained, my nourishment comes from doing the will of God who sent me and from the finishing his work. You know the saying, 4 months between planting and harvest. But I say, wake up and look around. The fields are already ripe for harvest. The harvesters are paid good wages, and the fruit they harvest is people brought to eternal life. What joy awaits both the planter and the harvester alike. You know the saying, one plants and another harvests. And it's true. I sent you to harvest where you did not plant. Others had already done the work, and now you will go to get the harvest. Beloved, look at your neighbor and tell him, he's preaching. I'm about my business. You may be seated. In this text, you first meet Jesus in this chapter speaking to a woman, a Samaritan woman at a well. And there, the woman is there to get some water for her natural body. And she's there, and it's ironic unless you know the demographics and the history to the situation. She's there at an hour that women wouldn't normally typically go get water. But that is to allude to a situation where she may have been an outcast amongst the people that were already outcast to the Jews. So her being in her peculiar situation is at this well by herself, secluded not only by people, but socially. She's excluded by her situations, her issues, and her problems. But at this well, while she's going to get a physical nourishment, she gets a spiritual one. She runs into Jesus, and Jesus helps a woman that is thirsty. She's been dealing with situations where she's been trying to satisfy an internal thirst with bad relationships. She's been trying to fulfill something inside of her in an illegitimate way. But Jesus helps her even though she's there for a physical reason by giving her a spiritual response. She wants water from Jacob's well. Jesus says, I'll give you a well inside of you that'll never run dry. Then as this woman who becomes a great advocate for discipleship in the Samaritan area, she goes and tells people back in the city where the disciples are currently at and journeying back because they had to make a grocery run. Because anytime you work with brothers, you got to feed them. So they went to go get themselves and Jesus something to eat. And as they come back, they see Jesus with this woman, and they're like, what's going on? Jews and Samaritans, just like the woman had noted, don't usually hang together. Come on, it's like some of y'all East Siders and West Siders don't sit together, y'all. But usually, Jews, if they have to go through that area, even though the shortcut may have been through Samaria, they will go around. Because they didn't socialize with those people. They were considered the half-breeds. Have Jews mixed in and intermingled with other races and nations. So as this woman goes back, the disciples, the followers of Jesus, come back from the city and they're like, whoa, what's going on? But they don't ask Jesus about that. They ask Jesus, they say, Jesus, come on, sit down, good leader, it's time to eat. We see you working hard. After you've exerted yourself, you've been going for a minute, you've been grinding out here, you've been exhausting yourself. It's time to replenish yourself. Get your needs met. Because you can't run on an empty tank. But Jesus shocks their world. Just like he met this woman, they had a physical situation. Jesus gave them a spiritual response. He says, my nourishment comes from doing the will of God who sent me and finishing my work. First he tells them, I have a food you know nothing about. Come on now. Yeah, I think the disciples are lost here. They're like, come on now. The whole crew left Jesus. How are you eating? Did this woman bring you a snack pack? I didn't know they had DoorDash in the desert. Jesus, what? How did you eat? How are you eating when that's the mission we went on? To come back to feed you. But Jesus wasn't talking about a bread and bun. He wasn't talking about fries and a shake. He wasn't talking about a pizza and pepperoni. Greens and chips. KYs, collard greens. Sweet potato pie. I ain't trying to make y'all hungry, but their mind was on one thing. Jesus was on another. And you have to look inside the text to see where Jesus is coming from. It's not that Jesus wasn't a man like us that hungered and thirsted and needed refreshment. It's that Jesus was feeding a different part of him. Jesus was feeding an inner hunger. He was feeding his passion. Jesus hungered at this stake in his life, in his journey to do the Father's will. Yes, he needed food, because if he was going to physically continue to go on, he would need physical food. But his hunger for the will of God surpassed filling his belly. And this is what, as Christians today, we have to be careful of. What's feeding you? What are you hungry for? What is your passion? What drives you? Because passion will make you trump other things that people do first. What you hunger for will make you do what you need to do for it above other things. Come on now. If you're hungry for sex and relationships, you'll sacrifice your job for it. You'll sacrifice good reason for it. You'll sacrifice your reputation for it. If you're hungry for money, you'll sacrifice your morals for it. You'll sacrifice your critical time, your appointments, your principles sometimes if you're hungry for money. If you're hungry for power, you'll sacrifice relationships. You'll sacrifice good reason. You'll sacrifice good judgment because you're searching for something you have to live with. But Jesus says, though you're trying to feed me physically, I'm living off of something that has a greater hunger inside. My passion is to do God's will. And I believe that we all have different levels of hungers, but your greatest hunger will supersede all your other hungers. You might call it, I might have a taste for something here, which means you would like to have that, but you'll live without it. But what you're truly hungry for will change your life when you're missing it. This woman at the well was thirsty. Jesus told her about her life and some bad situations. And I don't even know if she ever